That night, I watched the brand new car glide away from the curb, knowing exactly who'd signed the check and why I hadn't said a word. They told me to stop interfering in their family. I smiled, opened my laptop, and quietly hit cancel. The next morning, when the dealership called demanding the car back and the bank froze their accounts, I finally told the truth that car never belonged to them. My name is Evelyn Monroe, and at 62, I thought I understood the boundaries of family love. Former head of procurement at Harborline Logistics, I'd negotiated million-dollar contracts, managed vendor relationships across 3 continents, and never once mistook a transaction for a relationship. Until Sunday night at 9:43 p. When my daughter-in-law Kelsey posted in our family group chat, "Going forward, please don't interfere with our little family anymore." Jason, my son, hearted the message within seconds. Aidan, my 18-year-old grandson, remained silent. I stared at my phone screen, the blue light harsh against the darkness of my living room in Aurora Falls, Ohio. The house felt cavernous since Tom died 3 years ago. Too many rooms, too much silence, broken only by the grandfather clock he'd restored ticking in the hallway. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, a dozen responses forming and dissolving, arguments, explanations, the hurt that twisted in my chest like a living thing. Instead, I typed, "Thank you for the clarity." Then I set down the phone, walked to my home office, Tom's old study that still smelled faintly of his pipe tobacco, and opened my laptop. The spreadsheet labeled Family Outflows, XLSX, loaded instantly. 18 months of data arranged in neat columns. Every mortgage payment when Jason's startup hemorrhaged cash. Every utility bill during Kelsey's career transition. Aidan's SAT prep courses. His college application fees. The orthodontist appointments they couldn't quite swing. And there, highlighted in yellow because I'd flagged it for tax purposes, the monthly auto loan payment for Jason's Mazda CX-5. $547.32, drafted from my account on the 15th of each month through Lakeside Motors' financing arm. The interesting part, Jason didn't know. Neither did Kelsey. They thought they'd gotten an incredible deal, some manager's special with employee pricing through Jason's friend. They'd bragged about it at Thanksgiving, Kelsey showing photos to her sister while Jason explained how he'd negotiated like a boss. I'd smiled, passed the cranberry sauce, and said nothing about the call I'd received from the dealership the day before, asking if I'd be willing to co-sign since Jason's credit score sat at 572. Co-sign. That's what they'd called it, though the paperwork told a different story. The Maple Row Trust, the financial entity I'd created after Tom's death to protect our assets, was listed as the primary lien holder. Jason was merely an authorized user, a detail buried in page 7 of the contract he'd signed without reading. I pulled up the trust documents, cross-referencing account numbers. Since January of last year, the Maple Row Trust had disbursed $43,000 in various forms of family support. Not loans, not investments. Gifts, technically, though I'd never called them that. Just quiet transfers when I noticed the signs Jason's nervous laugh when the check came at dinner. Kelsey's sudden interest in couponing. Aidan wearing the same hoodie for 6 months straight. The group chat buzzed. Kelsey again, "We just need to establish healthy boundaries. It's what's best for everyone." My sister-in-law Barbara liked it. So did Kelsey's mother, Sharon, who'd been added to the chat during last year's Christmas planning and never removed. An audience. That's what this was, a performance of independence. played to sympathetic relatives who didn't know about the 3 a.m. call when Jason's business credit line got frozen, or the tearful conversation when Kelsey's student loans went into default. I opened a new browser tab, logged into the Lakeside Motors account. The interface was clean. Corporate blue and white. Payment history perfect. Current balance $18,412. Next payment due October 15th. My cursor hovered over the Manage Auto Pay button. In the kitchen, the dishwasher hummed through its cycle, the new one I'd bought them last spring when theirs broke. Through the window, I could see the motion sensor lights I'd had installed illuminate the driveway. Every corner of this house held evidence of my interference, their boundaries. The chat kept going. Jason, now, we appreciate everything, but it's time we stood on our own feet. Appreciate. Present tense. Everything. Past tense. Apparently. I thought about responding. Thought about listing every payment, every bailout, every time I'd interfered with a check or a transfer or a quietly handled bill. Instead, I clicked back to the spreadsheet, added a new column, cessation date, October 1st, 2024, today's date. Then I began filling in the rows, one by one, scheduling the end of every automatic payment, every recurring transfer, every financial interference in their little family, the mortgage assistance, the utility supplements, the cell phone family plan, the gas cards Jason used for his business expenses that included plenty of non-business mileage, and the car payment I left that one for last, finger poised over the keyboard. Thank God I waited. Because 3 dots appeared in the chat. Aidan was typing, but Aidan's message never came. The 3 dots disappeared, reappeared, then vanished for good. I understood that silence, the weight of being 18 and caught between parents and grandmother, between loyalty and truth. I closed the chat and returned to my spreadsheet. But now my mind drifted backward to how we'd arrived at this moment of boundaries and bank transfers. Tom's death had left me with more money than I'd ever imagined. 38 years with Harbour Line Logistics, his pension, life insurance, the sale of his restoration shop, all funneled into the Maple Row Trust on the advice of our estate attorney. Protection and purpose, she'd called it. Structure for generosity. I'd thought it meant protecting the money for Jason and Aidan's future. I hadn't considered I might need protection from them. Jason's entrepreneurial phase began 6 months after the funeral. Digital marketing, he'd said, eyes bright with the fever of a true believer. He'd quit his stable job at Progressive Insurance, cashed out his 401k, maxed credit cards, chasing the dream of being his own boss. I'd watched from the sidelines until the morning Kelsey called, crying. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage. The house Aidan's childhood home was in pre-foreclosure. That's when I'd started the quiet interventions. Direct deposits labelled consulting fees to preserve Jason's pride. The utility bills switched to auto-pay from my account without telling them. A new arrangement where I needed help with errands, paying Kelsey $500 weekly for grocery runs I could have done myself. The car situation had been the most delicate dance. Last spring, Jason's ancient Honda finally died. Transmission gave out in the Walmart parking lot. He'd called me, not for help, but to cancel Sunday dinner. No way to get there, he'd said, voice carefully neutral. I'd driven past Lakeside Motors the next morning, spoke with Gary, the finance manager I knew from Rotary Club. Here's what I need, I'd told him, sliding the Maple Row Trust documents across his desk. My son finds a car. You give him your best deal, make him feel like he won. But the loan goes through the trust. I'm the real buyer. He's just the driver. Gary had looked uncomfortable. That's not exactly standard. Neither is a 61-year-old woman buying her 40-year-old son a car without him knowing. I'd smiled, the kind of smile I'd perfected during vendor negotiations. But here we are. The paperwork had been brilliant in its deception. Jason saw what he wanted: approved financing, reasonable monthly payment, his name on the insurance card. He never noticed the lien holder details, never questioned why his credit score suddenly qualified him for prime rates. The trust paid automatically, silently, maintaining the illusion of his independence. I'd done the same with a dozen other expenses, creating an elaborate architecture of secret support. The scholarship that covered half of Aiden's basketball camp, the insurance settlement that paid for Kelsey's root canal, the cash-back rewards that appeared whenever their checking account dipped below $500. Each deception required documentation, planning, coordination. I kept everything in a filing cabinet: contracts, receipts, email chains with helpful customer service representatives who understood a mother's desire to help without hovering. The Maple Row Trust became my shadow presence in their lives, invisible but essential. Like the foundation of a house no one thinks about until it cracks. The real test had come in August. Jason had landed a legitimate client, his first substantial contract in 18 months. He'd taken us all to dinner at Rossini's, the Italian place downtown, where they bring you breadsticks in a silver basket. When the check came, he'd grabbed it with theatrical confidence. "I've got this," he'd announced, pulling out the credit card I knew was maxed because I'd been monitoring his credit report. Things are finally turning around. The card declined. Of course it did. His face went from confidence to confusion to humiliation in 3 seconds. Kelsey had started digging in her purse. Aiden had looked at his phone, and I'd sat there with my own card in my hand, waiting. "Try it again," Jason had told the waiter. "Must be the chip." It wasn't the chip, but on the second try, it went through. Because I'd transferred $2,000 to that account from my phone while the waiter was walking back to the register. Jason had beamed, vindicated. Kelsey had kissed his cheek. Aiden had finally looked up and smiled. That night, driving home alone, I'd wondered if I was helping or enabling. Tom would have known. He'd had a phrase for every situation, some bit of wisdom from his Navy days or the shop. But Tom was gone, and I was making it up as I went, throwing money at problems like I was still procurement officer trying to keep supply chains running. Now, staring at the cessation dates in my spreadsheet, I realized the truth: I'd been underwriting their entire life, not just helping with rough patches, but sustaining an unsustainable fiction. Jason's business had never turned a profit. Kelsey's Etsy shop for handmade jewelry generated $12 last month. They weren't standing on their own feet. They were standing on mine, pretending not to notice. The group chat stayed quiet. No more hearts, no more boundary talk. But I knew they were there, probably in their own chat without me, reinforcing their decision. Good. Let them plan their independent future. Let them budget without the invisible safety net. I saved the spreadsheet, backed it up to 3 different drives. Then I opened my email and began typing a message to Marisol Vega, my financial advisor. Need to discuss some structural changes to the trust distributions. Available this week. Her response came immediately, even at 10:30 p.m. "Everything okay? Evelyn." I smiled at the screen. Better than okay. Finally setting some boundaries of my own. Aiden's 18th birthday party was scheduled for Saturday, October 12th, at our usual venue, my backyard. Kelsey had sent the invitation 3 weeks prior, before the boundary declaration, with specific instructions. Evelyn, could you handle drinks? We've got everything else covered. I arrived at noon with coolers of soda, cases of water, fresh squeezed lemonade from Weber's farm stand. The transformation of my yard was impressive. Kelsey had strung lights between the oak trees, set up tables with navy blue cloths, arranged centerpieces of artificial sunflowers. A professional-looking banner read, Aiden's 18 Future So Bright, in gold letters. Oh, good. You're here, Kelsey said, not looking up from her phone. She wore a new dress, one I recognized from Nordstrom's fall collection. Can you put those by the deck and maybe organize them by type? People get confused. I organized beverages while guests arrived. Kelsey's family came first, her sister Madison with the twins, her mother Sharon carrying a store-bought cake despite Kelsey's Facebook post about making everything from scratch, Jason's cousins from Cleveland, my brother Paul and his wife, the basketball team, neighbors, everyone who mattered in our small Ohio orbit. Jason worked the grill in a new Columbia fishing shirt, playing host with expansive gestures. Welcome. Welcome. Grab a burger. Kelsey planned all this. Isn't she amazing? I watched from my assigned station by the drinks, noting the details. The catered sides from Olive Garden disguised in Kelsey's serving dishes. The DJ actually just Aiden's friend Tyler with a Bluetooth speaker being paid in burger plates. The professional photographer, who turned out to be Madison's boyfriend with an iPhone. When Aiden opened gifts, mine was pushed to the side, a $500 Best Buy card in a simple white envelope. He thanked me quickly before moving on to Jason and Kelsey's present, a used PlayStation they'd bought from Facebook Marketplace, presented in a new box they'd gotten from GameStop. We wanted him to have something special, Kelsey announced to the crowd. From our little family to our amazing son. The phrase stung exactly as intended, our little family. The same words from the group chat, now performed live for an audience. Sharon clapped. Madison took pictures. I refilled ice. The speeches began at 4 p. Jason went first, talking about pride and growth and doing it all ourselves. Kelsey followed with a story about Aiden's first day of kindergarten, how she'd sacrificed everything to be there. Neither mentioned the tuition I'd paid for that private kindergarten, or the car I'd bought Kelsey so she could drive him there. And none of this, Kelsey said, gesturing at the party, the yard, the gathering, would have been possible without the love and support of the people who really matter. She looked directly at her sister, her mother, Jason's cousins, not at me. That's when I heard it, Kelsey talking to Madison by the dessert table, thinking I was inside getting more napkins. Your mum helps out sometimes, Madison asked, probably noting the quality of the setup versus what she knew of Jason's finances. Jason's mum? Kelsey laughed, the brittle sound carrying across the yard. She helps a little bit here and there. Honestly, it's more trouble than it's worth sometimes. You know how mothers-in-law are. A little bit here and there. I stood frozen in my kitchen doorway, holding napkins I no longer needed to deliver. Last month's mortgage payment, $1,200. The party supplies charged to my Amazon account, $300. Aiden's senior year fees, $800. Little bits, apparently. I walked back outside, placed the napkins on the table, and made my decision. No scene, no confrontation, just clarity. The party wound down at 7. I helped clean, loading trash bags, while Kelsey accepted compliments. "You're so organized. Everything was perfect. You should be a party planner." As I tied off another garbage bag, Aidan appeared beside me. "Thanks for the Best Buy card. Grandma, I know it's a lot." "You're welcome, sweetheart." He hesitated, looking back at his parents now taking selfies with the banner. "And thanks for, you know, everything else?" So he knew. Of course he knew. Kids always know more than we think. "Aidan," I said carefully, "what do you think about the boundaries your parents mentioned?" His face went carefully neutral, a skill learned from navigating divorce and remarriage and family dynamics. "They say they need space to be independent." "And you, what do you need?" "I need to get through senior year and get to college." He met my eyes. "Whatever that takes." Whatever that takes. The pragmatism of 18, clear-eyed and unsentimental. I appreciated the honesty. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "That car Dad drives, the Mazda. He says he got this amazing deal. But Tyler's dad works at Lakeside Motors, and he said..." Aidan stopped, reconsidering. "Never mind. It's okay. You can ask me anything." "Tyler's dad said someone else is actually paying for it. Someone with a trust or something." I kept my face neutral, tying another garbage bag. "Interesting. Is it you?" The directness of youth. I could lie, maintain the fiction, preserve Jason's pride and Kelsey's narrative. Or I could give this young man the truth he was old enough to handle. "Yes," I said simply. "But they don't know." Aidan nodded slowly, processing. "Why?" "Because I wanted to help without them feeling obligated. Because I thought gratitude shouldn't be a requirement for generosity." I looked at the party detritus, the banner, the lights, the empty gift table. I'm starting to reconsider that philosophy. "Are you going to tell them?" "What do you think I should do?" He thought for a moment, mature beyond his 18 years. "Wait," he said finally. "See what they do when things get hard." Smart kid. I smiled, touching his shoulder. "Happy birthday. Aidan, whatever happens with your parents and me, you're still my grandson." He hugged me then, quick and fierce, before jogging back to his friends. I finished cleaning in silence, loading my car with empty coolers, while Kelsey and Jason posed for more pictures with their banner, their party, their independent little family. Driving home, I thought about Aidan's advice. Wait. See what they do when things get hard. I wouldn't have to wait long. Monday morning, 7:15 a.m. I sat in my home office with coffee and purpose, laptop open to multiple browser tabs, the Maple Row Trust account, banking portals, auto-pay settings. Every financial tentacle I'd extended into their lives laid out like a war map. First, the cell phone family plan. 4 lines at $180 monthly. Unlimited everything. I clicked Remove Lines, keeping only mine. Effective immediately. Second, Jason's business gas card, the one he claimed for client meetings that geo-tracked to Topgolf and the casino. Cancelled. Third, their home internet and cable bundle. I'd been paying it directly to Spectrum since Jason's business account got flagged for non-payment. Click. Gone. Fourth, the supplemental health insurance that covered what Jason's catastrophic plan didn't. Terminated. Fifth, Kelsey's gym membership at Premier Fitness, the one she'd asked me to temporarily cover 14 months ago. Ended. Each cancellation generated a confirmation email. I forwarded them all to a new folder, Financial Independence Day. The mortgage situation required more finesse. I'd been depositing money directly into their account on the first of each month, labeled consulting income, so Jason could pretend it was from his business. I scheduled the final transfer for November 1st with a memo, final payment contract complete. The car payment was trickier. Through the Lakeside Motors portal, I could see everything: payment history, insurance status, maintenance records. The temptation to cancel immediately was strong, but I remembered Aidan's advice. Wait, let them feel the weight of their choices. Instead, I modified the autopay. October 15th's payment would process. After that, nothing. They'd get notices, calls, eventually threats. Then they'd learn who really owned that car. My phone buzzed at 9:20 a.m. Jason. Hey, Mom. Verizon says there's some issue with our phones. I typed carefully. You mentioned needing boundaries. I'm respecting them. 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then, what does that mean? It means your phone plan is now your responsibility. I'm sure you've got it covered. The dots danced for a full minute before. This is about last week. This is about boundaries. You were right. We all need them. No response. But I could imagine the scene: Jason pacing their kitchen, Kelsey demanding explanations, both of them calculating the cost of independence. 180 for phones, 300 for internet and cable, 400 for insurance. The numbers adding up like a calculator in a nightmare. At 10 a.m, I met Marisol Vega at her office downtown. She'd been managing the trust since Tom died, a steady hand through my grief spending and guilt gifting. You look determined, she said, gesturing to the conference room chairs. I need to restructure everything. I handed her my printed spreadsheet. Every automatic payment to Jason and Kelsey needs to stop, but I want to set up a separate education fund for Aidan, one his parents can't touch. Marisol studied the numbers, eyebrows rising. Evelyn, you've been paying out almost $7,000 monthly. I know. That's $84,000 a year, after tax. I know. She set down the papers. What happened? I told her about the boundary text, the party, the little bit here and there comment. Her expression shifted from professional to personal. We'd known each other since our kids played Little League together. You need Patricia Morse, she said, pulling out her phone. Best elder law attorney in the state. Not saying you're elderly, she added quickly. But she specializes in financial exploitation by family members. It's not exploitation if I agreed to it. Isn't it? Though, if they're denying the support while taking it, if they're implying you're a burden while cashing your checks. She found the number. Patricia can make sure they can't come after the trust if they get desperate. The word hung between us. Desperate. Because that's what they'd be without my money. Patricia Morse could see me at 2 p.m. Her office occupied the top floor of the KeyBank building, all glass and gravity. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 45, with kind eyes and a steel spine. Marisol filled me in, she said, after I'd signed the retainer. We need to document everything, every payment, every transaction, every text message. If they claim elder abuse or try to challenge your mental capacity, my what? It's a common tactic when adult children lose financial support. Suddenly, Mum's not thinking clearly. Mum's being manipulated by advisors. Mum needs a conservatorship. She pulled out a legal pad. We're going to make that impossible. We spent 2 hours creating an ironclad paper trail. Bank statements proving my sound financial management. Medical records, including my recent cognitive assessment for long-term care insurance perfect scores. Character references from Rotary Club board members. A notarized statement of mental competency. Now, Patricia said, let's talk about the car. I explained the Maple Row Trust's lien holder position, showed her the contracts. Beautiful, she said. You can recall that vehicle any time for breach of contract. Missing insurance, missed payment. Failure to maintain any violation triggers your right to recover. When do you want to do it? When they realize what they've lost. She smiled. I love a client who understands timing. What about the grandson? Protected, separate education fund, tamper-proof until he's 25 or graduates college. Smart. One more thing, do you have house cameras? Why? Because desperate people do desperate things. If they show up angry, you want evidence. That night, I installed a Ring doorbell and 2 outdoor cameras, synced to my phone. Probably overkill. But Patricia's words echoed desperate people do desperate things. At 11:47 p, my phone exploded with messages. Jason. Mom. All our services are getting cut off. What's happening? Kelsey. This is cruel and manipulative. Jason. Can we talk? Kelsey. You're punishing us for wanting normal boundaries. Jason. The internet's off. I have client work due. Kelsey. This affects Aiden too. The last one almost made me respond. But Aiden had his own phone, paid for with his part-time job at Kroger. He'd planned ahead, understanding what his parents didn't. Independence required preparation. I turned off my phone, went to bed, and slept better than I had in months. Tomorrow, they'd discover the mortgage payment notification. Next week, the car insurance would lapse. The real education was just beginning. Tuesday morning, 6:43 a. The pounding on my front door triggered the new Ring camera, sending alerts to my phone. Through the app. I watched Jason's face, flushed and frantic. Kelsey behind him with arms crossed. I took my time getting dressed, comfortable slacks. A cashmere sweater Tom had given me our last Christmas. Poured coffee into my favorite mug. Then opened the door like this was any ordinary morning. You're destroying our family, Kelsey said before I could speak. Good morning to you too. Coffee. They followed me to the kitchen, Jason's agitation filling the space like smoke. I noticed his shirt was the same one from Sunday, wrinkled now. Kelsey's makeup couldn't hide the dark circles. Mum, you can't just cut everything off without warning. Wasn't that exactly what you asked for? No interference? I sipped my coffee, staying calm. I'm respecting your boundaries. This isn't respect. It's revenge. Kelsey spat. You're acting like a child. Interesting perspective. Would you like to see the receipts? I pulled out my phone, opened the folder I'd prepared. August electricity, $412. September mortgage, $1,200. Car insurance, health insurance, gas cards. Should I continue? That's not. Jason started, but I kept scrolling. Aiden's basketball camp, $2,200. Your root canal, Kelsey, $3,800. The transmission repair on the Honda before you traded it in. Stop. Jason's voice cracked. We get it. Do you, because at Aiden's party, Kelsey told Madison I help a little bit here and there. Was $84,000 last year a little bit? Kelsey's face went white. You were eavesdropping. I was cleaning up your party, in my yard. that I opened for your celebration, where you thanked everyone except the person paying for your life. We never asked you to. October 3rd, 2:21 a.m. I interrupted, pulling up texts. Mum, we're going to lose the house. Please, just this once. November 15th. Can you cover Aiden's tournament fees? I promise we'll pay you back. December 23rd. The car broke down. We have no one else. Each quote landed like a slap. Jason slumped into a kitchen chair. That was different, he mumbled. Those were emergencies. Every month was an emergency. Jason. Because you quit your job to play entrepreneur with no business plan, no clients, no backup. His business is growing, Kelsey defended, but even she sounded uncertain. Really, what was last month's revenue? Silence. The month before. More silence. I know the answer because you file taxes using my accountant. $1,400 gross in 6 months. Your Uber Eats delivery job makes more than your digital marketing firm. Jason's face darkened. At least I'm trying to build something. With whose money? This is exactly why we needed boundaries, Kelsey interjected. You throw your money in our faces. When name one time before this week I've mentioned it. One single time. She couldn't, because I hadn't. Every payment had been silent, every rescue unremarked upon. I'd preserved their dignity, even as they spent my retirement. Look, Jason said, trying a different approach. Maybe we were hasty with the boundary thing. We can work something out. Oh, I already have. You want independence, you've got it. Completely. Mum, be reasonable. We have bills. Your bills? Your little family's bills. I used their phrase deliberately, watched it sting. Kelsey's tone turned threatening. You know, someone your age making sudden financial decisions, cutting off family people might wonder about your mental state. There it was. The card Patricia had predicted. I smiled, genuinely amused. Try it. What? Question my competency, please. I have 3 lawyers eager to defend my perfect cognitive assessment scores. Meanwhile, we'll subpoena your financials. Show the court exactly where my money went. Every casino charge on the gas card. Jason. Every Nordstrom purchase while you claimed poverty. Kelsey. Jason grabbed Kelsey's arm as she stepped forward. Don't. She can't do this to us. Actually, I'm under no legal obligation to support adult children who explicitly requested I stop interfering. I set down my mug. Now, unless you're here to apologize, which you're not, please leave. What about Aiden, Jason's last card? Aiden has a college fund you can't touch, and a grandmother who loves him. He also has a job and more financial sense at 18 than you have at 40. You've turned him against us. No. You did that when you made him lie about who pays for his life. He knows. Jason. He's known all along. The kitchen went silent, except for the refrigerator's hum, the Sub-Zero I'd bought them last year when theirs died. Kelsey pulled out her phone. I'm calling a lawyer. Excellent. Have them call Patricia Morse. She's expecting to hear from you. You already have a lawyer. I have a team, financial advisor, estate attorney, elder law specialist, even a forensic accountant if needed. Want to know what they found reviewing the trust distributions? Jason stood quickly. We're leaving? Good choice. But before you go the car... He froze. What about it? Check your loan documents. Page 7, Section 4. The Maple Row Trust is the lien holder. Miss one payment? Lose insurance coverage. Fail to maintain it properly, I can legally reclaim it. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You just threatened my mental competency? Kelsey implied I'm a vindictive old woman. Why would I keep subsidizing people who think so little of me? Because you're our mother, Jason said quietly. Exactly. Your mother. Not your ATM. Not your silent investor. Not your safety net to use while pretending you don't need it. I walked to the door, opened it. Your next mortgage payment is November 1st. You have 2 weeks to figure it out. They left without another word. Through the Ring camera. I watched them argue in the driveway, Kelsey gesturing wildly while Jason stared at his phone, probably checking their bank balance, doing the math that didn't work. I made fresh coffee, then called Patricia. They threatened competency evaluation. Perfect. I'm filing a preemptive motion for financial independence verification. They won't know what hit them. After hanging up, I checked my spreadsheet one more time. Every payment cancelled. Every safety net removed. Their financial reality would hit in waves, first the services, then the mortgage. Finally the car, when they couldn't make October 15th's payment without me. My phone buzzed. A text from Aidan. They came to you, didn't they? Yes. Are you okay? I'm fine. Are you? Yeah. I've been saving money since last year. Figured this was coming. Smart kid. Definitely Tom's grandson. Grandma. Yes. When everything falls apart, don't blame yourself. They chose this. 18 years old and wiser than both his parents. I saved his message. A reminder for the harder days ahead. Because Aidan was right, they had chosen this. Now they'd live with it. October 15th arrived with the inevitability of a storm system tracked on radar. At 8:17 a. My phone rang. Jason. The car payment didn't go through. That's correct. Mum, this isn't funny. They're saying the autopay was cancelled. Also correct. Silence. Then, I need that car for work. What work? Jason. Your last client was in July. I have leads, potential contracts. I can't lose the car now. Then you should make the payment? You know I can't. He caught himself, pride wrestling with desperation. The payment is $547. I only have $300 until Kelsey gets paid Friday. Sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Christ. Mum, you're really going to let them repo my car? No one's repossessing anything yet. You're just late on a payment. Happens to independent adults all the time. He hung up. 20 minutes later, Kelsey called from her work number. Evelyn, the insurance company says our car insurance lapsed. The grace period ended yesterday. We can't drive without insurance. It's illegal. Then you should probably purchase insurance. Do you understand what you're doing? Aidan drives that car too. Aidan has his own insurance on his Honda Civic, the one he bought with his Kroger money. Remember. She hung up harder than Jason had. By noon, the cascade had begun. A text from Jason. Bank called about the mortgage. What did you tell them? Nothing. I'd told them nothing because there was nothing to tell. The November payment simply wouldn't appear in their account like magic. They'd have to figure it out like real adults. At 2:35 p.m., I was reviewing quarterly statements when the doorbell rang. Through the Ring camera, Aidan, still in his school polo, looking exhausted. I let him in. Noticed his backpack was heavier than usual. Rough day. Got pulled over on Main Street. Expired registration. My stomach tightened. The Mazda. Yeah. Dad let me drive it to school since Mum needed his car. Cop ran the plates. Said the insurance lapsed. $90 ticket plus I had to call Mum to pick me up. He dropped his backpack. Pulled out a crumpled citation. She screamed the whole way home. I'm sorry you got caught in this. It's not your fault. He sat at the kitchen island, same spot he'd done homework since middle school. Dad's having some kind of meltdown. He's on the phone with the bank, the insurance company, the car dealership. Mum's talking about borrowing from her sister. Madison won't lend them money. She's still owed $3,000 from last Christmas. Aiden's eyebrows rose. You know about that. I know about all of it. The payday loan they took in September. The credit card they opened in your name. What? I shouldn't have said it. But the boy deserved truth. Check your credit report. They opened a Best Buy card using your social, maxed it, buying that TV for the basement. His face went through several emotions. Shock, anger, resignation. That's identity theft. Yes, it is. I could report them. You could. He stared at the granite countertop, tracing patterns with his finger. How bad is it going to get? Honestly, very bad. They're about 30 days from foreclosure proceedings. The car will be gone by November if they don't pay. Utilities will start shutting off. Can they fix it? If Jason gets a real job immediately and Kelsey picks up extra shifts, maybe. But that requires admitting the business failed. He won't do that. No, he won't. Aiden's phone buzzed. Text from Kelsey. Where are you? I should go, he said, but didn't move. You can stay here any time. Your room is still your room. That would make things worse right now. The offer stands. He hugged me, quick and fierce like at his birthday. Love you, Grandma. Love you too. After he left, I called Patricia. The car insurance lapsed. Aiden got a ticket. Document everything. Every citation. Every late notice. We need the paper trail showing they had options and chose poorly. That evening, Gary from Lakeside Motors called. Evelyn. Awkward situation here. Jason Monroe's payment bounced. I'm aware. Thing is, the loan's really through your trust. Do you want to make it current, or? What are my options? You're the lien holder. Without insurance, you're within rights to demand immediate payment in full or surrender of the vehicle. But there's also a grace period. How long? Technically, you could call it in any time after the insurance lapse. That violates the loan terms. Send me the paperwork. I didn't act immediately. Patricia had emphasized timing, and I wanted them to feel the full weight of their choices. But I prepared everything notices, legal demands, tow truck company on standby. At 11:13 p. Jason texted, Mum, please, just the car payment. I'll pay you back next month. I didn't respond. 11:27 p. Mem. I know you're awake. Your read receipts are on. Still nothing. 11:41 p. This is cruel. Finally, I typed back, no, cruel is taking $84,000 a year while telling people I help a little. Cruel is demanding boundaries while your hand is in my pocket. Cruel is threatening my mental competency when the cash stops flowing. We were emotional. We didn't mean it. You meant it when you said it. What do you want? An apology. Fine. We're sorry. You're not sorry. You're desperate. There's a difference. What happened to you? You used to be compassionate? I thought about that for a moment. I'm still compassionate. Ask Aiden. His college fund is fully protected. Ask the food bank where I volunteer. Ask the scholarship recipients from Tom's Memorial Fund. I have endless compassion for people who don't bite the hand that feeds them, then pretend that hand doesn't exist. No response. I turned off my phone, went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new crises, new pleas, new threats. But tonight, for the first time in years, I felt the clarity that comes with truth. The car payment was just the beginning. The real lesson about gratitude, humility, and the cost of independence was still coming. And despite what Jason thought, this wasn't cruelty. This was consequences. October 23rd, 3:15 p. Aurora Falls Shopping Centre, specifically the parking lot between Target and Dick's Sporting Goods. Aidan had texted me that morning. Getting my first Kroger uniform today. Interview went great. I knew Jason and Kelsey would drive him their last attempt at normal family activity before everything collapsed. I arrived early, parked my Lincoln strategically where I could see the main lot. Patricia Morse sat beside me, her presence lending legal weight to what was about to happen. In my hand, the recall notice, properly notarized. Behind us, Gary from Lakeside Motors in the dealership's tow truck, engine idling. "You're sure about the timing?" Patricia asked. "Aidan gets off work at 3. They'll be here by 3:30. I'd been tracking their patterns for weeks. Tuesday family dinner at Applebee's cancelled for lack of funds. Thursday grocery runs now shifted to the food bank hours. But Aidan's job milestones. They couldn't miss those without looking like complete failures as parents. At 3:27, the silver Mazda CX-5 pulled in, Jason driving, Kelsey passenger, Aidan in back. They parked in front of Dick's, probably planning to celebrate with new work shoes Aidan would buy himself. "Now?" Patricia asked. "Wait. Let them get out." They did. Aidan practically bouncing with excitement about his assistant manager training position. $16.50 an hour more than his father was making from the business. Kelsey hugged him, the first genuine emotion I'd seen from her in months. Now. We walked over, Gary following with the paperwork. The moment Jason saw me, his face cycled through confusion, anger, and then understanding. "Mum, don't do this. Not here." "Hello, Jason, Kelsey. Congratulations on the job." "Aidan. Grandma." Aidan looked between us all, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" Gary stepped forward, professional but firm. "Mr. Monroe, I'm here on behalf of Lakeside Motors and the Maple Row Trust to recover this vehicle for breach of contract. Specifically, operating without insurance and missed payments." Kelsey's voice pitched high. "You're repossessing our car in public." "It's not your car," I said quietly. "Check the paperwork." Gary handed Jason the documents. "The lien holder has the right to immediate recovery. Please remove your personal belongings." A small crowd was forming suburban rubberneckers, drawn to drama like moths to flame. I recognized Jennifer from book club, Marcus from the gym. Tomorrow, everyone would know. "I can't believe you're doing this," Jason said, hands shaking as he read. "In front of our son." "Your son," I said clearly, "who's been working since 16 to buy his own car because he knew this day would come." Patricia spoke up. "Mr. Monroe, Mrs. Monroe, you can voluntarily surrender the vehicle now, or we can involve law enforcement. Your choice." "This is elder abuse," Kelsey sputtered. "Harassment. We'll sue." Patricia smiled coldly. "Please do. I have 18 months of financial records showing systematic exploitation of Mrs. Monroe's generosity. Would you like to discuss the Best Buy card opened in your minor son's name? Aidan's head snapped toward his parents. You actually did that? Aidan, honey? Grandma's confused? Stop lying to him, I interrupted. Just stop. For once in your lives, own your choices. Jason's facade cracked. You want me to own it? Fine. Yes. We used your money. Yes. We needed help. But you threw it in our faces. When give me one example before this month. Silence. That's what I thought. You created a narrative where you're victims and I'm the villain because it's easier than admitting you failed. The business failed. Jason. Your independence was an illusion funded by my retirement account. Gary cleared his throat. Folks, I need the keys. Jason looked at the keys in his hand like foreign objects. Around us. Phones were out. Recording. Someone whispered. Isn't that the Monroe family? The keys, Jason. I repeated. He threw them at Gary's feet. There. Happy. Actually, yes. Because now you get to experience actual independence. The kind where you take the bus, where you budget for groceries, where you can't pretend success while spending someone else's money. Kelsey was crying now, mascara running. How do we get home? The number 12 bus stops here every hour, Aidan said quietly. I take it to work. The look his parents gave him shock that their 18-year-old knew the bus schedule while they'd never considered public transportation was worth everything. Gary hooked up the car efficiently. The crowd grew. I heard whispers, elder abuse, family drama. That poor woman. But they didn't know which poor woman they meant. Aidan, I said, I can drive you home if you'd like. He looked at his parents, then at me. Yeah, I'd like that. You're not going with her, Kelsey commanded. I'm 18. I have a job. I bought my own car. I can decide who I ride with. He walked to my Lincoln. Patricia handed Jason a business card. If you want to contest this, call my office. But I'd advise getting a job instead. You'll need income for the lawyer. We left them there. Jason and Kelsey standing in the parking lot, crowd dispersing, tow truck disappearing with their symbol of false success. In my rearview mirror, I saw Kelsey collapse onto a bench, Jason pacing with his phone, probably calling anyone who might help. You okay? I asked Aidan as we drove. That was brutal. Yes, it was. They deserved it, though. Yes, they did. What happens now? Now they either grow up or double down. Either way, it's their choice. And if they double down, then they'll learn about the mortgage foreclosure, the IRS audit of their business expenses, and the fraud investigation for your credit card. Aidan was quiet for a moment. You've planned everything. I spent 40 years in procurement, sweetheart. I know how to close contracts and cut losses. Your parents thought I was just mom with money. They forgot I was also the woman who negotiated international shipping deals and managed 50 million in annual purchasing. Badass, he said, then caught himself. Sorry. No, you're right. I am a badass. And it's about time your parents learned that. We pulled into his driveway. The house looked shabby, suddenly gutters needing repair, lawn overgrown, the facade of middle-class success crumbling like their finances. Thanks, Grandma, for everything, including this. You know I love you, right? This isn't about you. I know. It's about respect. And consequences, and truth. Smart kid. Definitely my grandson. As I drove home, my phone exploded with texts. Jason, Kelsey, their relatives, their friends, all variations on the same theme. How could you? I didn't respond. The car was gone. The truth was out. Tomorrow, Patricia would file our response to any legal threats. Next week, the mortgage company would start calling. The real lesson hadn't been about money. It had been about gratitude, honesty, and the price of false pride. Class was definitely in session. November first arrived cold and definitive. I sat in my home office, watching the security footage from earlier that morning when Jason discovered the foreclosure notice taped to his front door. The timestamp read 6:43 a.m. Him in yesterday's clothes, yanking the orange paper down before neighbors could see. By 8 a.m., Marisol called. Everything's been transferred to the secured accounts. The education trust for Aiden is ironclad. Your remaining assets are protected. And their access, 0, every joint account closed, every authorized user removed, financial separation complete. The doorbell rang at noon. Not Jason or Kelsey, they'd been served with no contact orders after threatening to contest my mental capacity. Instead, Aiden stood there with a box. Moving in? I asked. If the offer's still open. Your room's ready? He'd packed light clothes, laptop, the watch Tom gave him for his 16th birthday. We didn't discuss his parents as he unpacked. Some silences say everything necessary. That evening, Patricia called. They hired an attorney, some ambulance chaser who thinks he can prove financial elder abuse. Let him try. Oh, I'm counting on it. I've prepared a countersuit for fraud, identity theft, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Plus, the IRS is very interested in Jason's business expenses that included gambling and personal shopping. How long before they fold? When they see our evidence, 2 weeks, maximum. She was wrong. It took 10 days. November 11th, Jason's attorney contacted Patricia requesting a meeting, not to pursue legal action to negotiate a retreat. In exchange for dropping all claims against me, they wanted the foreclosure delayed and 1 month's expenses covered. No, I told Patricia. Nothing. They wanted boundaries. They have them. The house went to sheriff's sale, December 1st. Jason and Kelsey moved into Madison's basement. Their little family condensed into 700 square feet of charity that came with actual strings attached. Madison demanded rent, chores, and silence about why they'd lost everything. The final documents came December 15th. Legal separation from all financial obligations. No contact except through attorneys. The trust restructured to skip them entirely, everything to Aiden after my death, with strict provisions preventing parental access. But the last real moment, the one that closed this chapter, happened December 23rd. Christmas shopping at Target. Me picking up gifts for the women's shelter. There they were. Jason and Kelsey in the grocery section. Calculator out. Choosing between generic pasta brands. They saw me. I saw them. Kelsey started to approach, but Jason grabbed her arm, shook his head. They understood finally boundaries work both ways. I finished shopping, loaded my car, drove home to where Aiden was baking Tom's famous Christmas cookies. The recipe passed down properly to someone who'd earned it. The house smelled like cinnamon and possibility. How was shopping? He asked. Educational, I said, and meant it. That night, I opened the spreadsheet one last time. 18 months of payments. All those transfers and bailouts. The architecture of enabling disguised as love. I moved it to a folder labeled Closed Accounts and shut the laptop. The trust account showed a balance that would last my lifetime and beyond. The education fund for Aidan would see him through grad school if he chose. The charitable donations continued people who actually needed help and acknowledged it. Christmas morning came quiet and peaceful. Aidan and I exchanged modest gifts, made breakfast together, visited Tom's grave with fresh flowers. No dramatic texts, no emergency calls, no last-minute financial crises to solve. Just peace. Later? Aidan asked. Do you regret it? Which part? Any of it? All of it? I thought about Jason at 5, proudly showing me his lemonade stand earnings, Kelsey in her wedding dress, promising to love our family as her own. The years of birthday parties and Sunday dinners before money poisoned everything. I regret waiting so long, I finally said. I regret enabling them instead of empowering them. But mostly, I regret that they valued my wallet more than my wisdom. Maybe they'll learn. Maybe. But that's their journey now. The Maple Row Trust sent out its last communication January 2nd, a formal notice that Jason and Kelsey Monroe were no longer beneficiaries, had no claim on future distributions, and any attempts at contact would be considered harassment. They never responded. Through the grapevine, I heard Jason finally got a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Kelsey increased her hours at the medical clinic. They were surviving, perhaps even learning. But I don't check anymore. Don't track their progress or problems. The spreadsheet stays closed. The boundaries stay firm. Because the greatest gift I could give them wasn't money. It was the chance to succeed or fail on their own merits. Aidan thrived. Full scholarship to Ohio State. Part-time job. Savings account growing. He'd learned what his parents couldn't. Independence isn't declared, it's earned. Some nights, I sit in Tom's chair, looking at our family photos from better times. I don't take them down. They're history, reminder of how good intentions without boundaries become toxic, how help without gratitude becomes expectation, how love without respect becomes exploitation. The phone doesn't ring with emergencies anymore. The bank account stays stable. The trust runs itself. Quiet and efficient. Ready for Aidan when the time comes. I won. If you can call it winning when victory means losing your son to his own greed. But sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let people face their consequences. Thank God I waited. Thank God I documented everything. Thank God I finally understood that being a mother doesn't mean being a martyr. The car, it's sold at auction. Someone else drives it now. Someone who probably makes their own payments. Just like Jason should have from the beginning. The end came not with reconciliation, but with silence. And in that silence, finally, peace. Thank you for listening to my story. Where are you tuning in from today? I'd love to know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts about family, boundaries, and financial independence. Have you ever had to make the hard choice between enabling and empowering? Let's discuss it together.